Guys, welcome back. Trust everybody's had a great weekend and had a good trading week just gone. I'm actually moving to London tomorrow, so for anybody who sees that I'm not as active on YouTube or social media as I normally am, it's just because I've lugged my life halfway across the world. So I'll be landing in London at about 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So looking forward to that. But in terms of the analysis, before I sort of pack my life away, there's two trades that I've sort of come across that I'll be looking to take next week, and I'll sort of run you through those now. So the first one is EA. Now this pair's been playing with me for probably since the start of the year, just because the first thing I see is a massive head and shoulders pattern in front of me, but it's sort of got invalidated because of these highs. Now, if you take into consideration this is the previous leg, you can see here that we're sitting right on 61.8 market strike, essentially between the 50s and the 61.8. So it is very undecided at the moment in which direction it wants to go, but considering the trend that it's in at the moment, it's obviously been in an uptrend for quite an amount of time. So in terms of this sort of looking to go long, I don't think that we're going to hit that sort of negative 27 all the way up here, which is about 1,000 pips away. But I am bullish on this pair. I did change my bias from bearish to bullish I think last week when I made the analysis, but as you can see, it's been very, very choppy, but I do still think there is places within this pair to be able to take trades and profit this week. So I just want you to sort of keep in mind that weekly 61.8, which I will highlight here. Probably not that color, but I'll do pink. And it is 58272. 58272, and that's the weekly 61.8. And then I'll delete that and head down to the daily. Now with the daily, you can see a couple of things. You can see here that there has been a inverse head and shoulders pattern forming, but when we did go up to this neckline, we failed to break and we got quite a bit of resistance. Obviously, you can see here that this is a big sort of area of resistance around here. So we could be looking to potentially reverse from here. However, I still do think that we do have room to the upside. So that's just one thing to sort of bear in mind for next week, is we didn't actually crack the neckline of that inverse head and shoulders. But in terms of the momentum, there's a couple of reasons why we can continue to look for longs. And the main reason is obviously we haven't cracked the lows yet, and we're still in, even if you do it on a lower time frame like the daily, we are still in an uptrend that hasn't been broken, and we haven't cracked below that 61.8 and sort of held there yet. So in terms of that, obviously the 61.8 is a very, very strong area, but obviously this neckline here is a very strong area as well. So even worst case scenario, when we do take a trade, we can just look to run it back to the tops, which is still a decent trade, unless we fully crack below this weekly 61.8 and close below it on the weekly, and we can sort of start to see momentum sort of changing here. Now if I do the daily fib low to high, we can see here that even the 61.8 has still been a relative area of strength here. So in terms of that, we still could be considered to chase it up at minimum to the sort of neckline. Otherwise, the negative 27 is obviously a target area for a lot of traders. Which will once again we'll still be creating, if it does turn to a downtrend, we'll still be creating lower highs from this, and then we can look to take it back down. But for now, I'm bullish on this pair. Now I'm just going to mark the two potential take profits here, and that is obviously the negative 27, and then you can sort of look to chase it back to the tops of this neckline here. So in terms of entries, obviously you can go down to the 4-hour time frame. And you can see here as well, on the 4-hour obviously it becomes a little bit easier, but if we look to draw a trend line, from here to here, however it is you want to take your draw your trend, if you want to draw them from from this or wherever it is, you can see here that we have broken out of it, and this whole sort of I guess range was really sort of consolidated. So if we do look to chase it back down to the weekly 618, we are getting 2 or 3 confluences to go along. We're getting the retest of the downtrend, the the tap of the uptrend, which already has been tapped and respected 3 times, and also around the 618 on the weekly. Now if I draw the fib from low to high on this last leg, remember guys, what you want to be doing is take into consideration the current movement as it is. So this was obviously the current movement, this was the previous, so you're always putting the fib on the previous leg to sort of find out where it's going to retrace to. And we can see here that the 618 here, which is right here, and we change this. If I make them all the same colours, I can sort of see the importance of them, and that is 1.58485, and that's the 618 on the 4 hour. Alright, so we can look at that there, and we can sort of see that this area right here is a great sort of a great area to look for entries, because obviously we have the weekly 618, the 618 on the 4 hour, the uptrend and the downtrend. So if we sort of just highlight this right here, just to sort of see if we can take an entry, make that nice and pretty in blue, and look for some kind of market structure. Obviously it is sort of very, very choppy in this area, but straight away I can see here that looks pretty promising. And if we sort of go back, we can see here that it is around about the sort of tops of this as well. So if I look to potentially take an entry right there, I'll make this orange. Look to take this as an entry. We can see here that it's essentially right in the middle of those two, potentially a little bit lower, but either way, it'll hit sort of this trend. Alternatively, if we're looking to take shorts, obviously I'll be very patient with this pair, but we can look to see potential a break and a retest of that trend, and also the weekly 618, and then we can continue to push further down. Remember guys, this is Forex, anything can happen, sudden news or whatever it is. But for the moment, I'm looking to be I'm looking to be bullish. Now if I was to just to sort of see the risk to reward, and I was to enter here and do my first target here, this is very rough mind you, and then have it a little bit below market structure. So this area here, take it a little bit below market structure to say 30-35 pips. You're looking at a 1 to 5 risk to reward, which is a great trade. If you're using proper risk management guys, everything's a lot easier. For example, this month so far I've only won 39% of my trades. It's been a very poor month in that sense, but I'm still in profit 8% on the month. So it really is risk to reward above everything. If you're only using 1-to-1 risk to rewards, you have to to be quite decently profitable, you have to be a 65 to 70% trader. If you're using a 1 to 3 risk to reward, if you win 50 to 60% of your trades, you're going to be absolutely killing it. So that's where I'd be looking to take target. I'll see if we can go onto the 1 hour and see if there's a previous, I don't generally like the 1 hour, but if we use the previous leg, there you go. So if we do that, we can expect potentially a pullback to that 618 on the way down. And if we do, this is what we'll get. So we get a pullback to the, why didn't that work? We get a pullback to the 618. As you can see here, there's a lot of market structure in that 618, or potentially the 50, which is right here. Then we can see continuation down. Remember that negative 27 is the target, which fits, right in between all of this. And then we can sort of look, to take it, back to the upside. So there's a lot of confluences to go long, which is what I'm certainly, looking at. As I said though, guys, if we do break below that structure, and break below the entry, or whatever it is, I'll go back to the 4 hour. We can look to see of a, I'd probably wait for a daily close underneath that zone. I'll just go to the daily and see if there's been any closes under there so far. So there's been a couple of closes, and obviously we had the sort of pullback here as well. But if we do, close beneath, get a retest of that trend, we can potentially see further movement to the downside. So just be wary of that. I'll probably put a sell limit there, a buy limit there at the start of the week, and sort of see how we go. In terms of the indicators, very squeezed once again. I do expect a big movement from this pair sooner rather than later. It has been very sort of choppy, you know, squeezed on the 4 hour, squeezed on the daily, squeezed on the weekly. Momentum's bullish on the 4 hour, but as I said, once we get that retest, that'll close and we can expect movement up. So that's the first pair that I'm looking at. The second one is Euro New Zealand dollar. I'll just remove all of these indicators. Now, last week this was actually a great opportunity to go short on the Friday, and we would have. I didn't take the trade because I was already in a trade and I didn't want to get too greedy on a Friday, but it would have been about 170 odd pips from where I took my entry or something like that, which, you know, a little bit disappointing, but, you know, I still finished the week in profit, so that's all we can ask for. The first thing that I can see here is we are forming a sort of a W, you know, formation. We have created double bottoms and we have got a little bit of, you know, rejection from this area here. So we can draw, even if it's just a small, sorry, that's an arrow. We can draw a small trend this way because it has held, okay? And if we go on your fib on the weekly from the previous leg, you can see that where it rejected from is the negative 27. Okay, so we do expect to see some kind of pullback from that area. I'd be probably looking to chase it back to the tops. Obviously, EN and EA do correlate a lot, like the New Zealand dollar and the Australian dollar move, you know, fairly similarly. I don't know how to say that word, but so, you know, we can expect to see some kind of pullback from there, which is the first sort of confluence that I look for. Obviously, though, sort of longer term, we're probably same with the other one. We're probably a bit bearish. So obviously, the target is all the way down here for the negative 27, which is quite a while away. And this is, you know, quite a choppy pair, but from here we've started to see lower highs be created because, you know, we didn't sort of close above this and continue up further. So just be wary of that. I'll keep that trend line there and then go to the daily. And we can see here that obviously this trend line held really well last week. And, you know, the reason for that is obviously we sort of didn't crack above. But if we look at, if we go back to the weekly and we use this as the previous level and go back to the daily, we can see here that we have hit the 27. Now, you'll find this in a lot of instances. We have hit the target number and then we did get a rejection. Now, a lot of the time what you will see is you're going to see a retest of the 0 and then you're going to see further continuation up. Now, the reason for that is if you look really closely here, this can be your head, and even if you go onto the lower time frames, this can be an inverse head and shoulder. So I just want to go to the 4 hour. So it is a little bit more, you know, I guess messy. But if we just mark this as the 0, which I will be doing because I think it's an important, level. And what is it? 65,290. And then we do the 0%. I do expect to see, because we are going to look for longs, I do expect to see a retest of that. So if we now delete this fib, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. If we now delete this fib, we can see here that this is in fact going to create an inverse head and shoulders if it does go through. So we have the down, the up, we have the head, we have a break of a hit of the 27, and then we see back up, and then we see this movement here, which is the right shoulder, and then we see continuation up. So it's not a textbook one. Like, you know, it's something that not a lot of people will be trading, but you sort of have to look at it from the bigger picture, see what's going on, and just notice patterns. Now, there's every, you know, chance that I could be wrong with these analyses. You know, somebody could be analyzing a short, and, you know, one of us is going to be wrong, one of us is going to be right. That's the nature of the game. So that's a 0%. And if we go back to the daily to see if there's anything else that we can sort of look at. Obviously, we've had the W, so we can expect a pullback. But even if we go, so last leg, so obviously this is the movement now. This is where we want to test the retracement from. And we go to here. Right now, it's right on the 6,218 on the daily. So we can expect to see, and it's kind of weird because, I mean, it closed pretty much exactly. It closed, you know, 1 pip below. So, you know, trust me guys, that's not by coincidence. That didn't happen by accident. As you sort of trade for a little bit longer, you find out these things, but things don't happen by accident and just, you know, from, you know, sheer luck. So 65,471, 65,471, and that is the daily 61.8. All right. So right now, as I said, it's a little bit abstract, but you know, we can see left shoulder. This is the head. The right shoulder's formed pretty quickly because it did go up and then retrace, but automatically we're in the 0% from a retest of the rejection off the -27, and also the daily 61.8. And you know, if that does go up, you're going to be looking at that head and shoulders pattern. So I'll go down to the 4 hour and see if we can see any potential, you know, broken trends or anything like that. There could be another confluence for us. So if we did something like this, if we did that low to low, you can see here that it's right on the trends as well. And if we did something like this, depending, as I say guys, depending on how you draw your trends, a lot of people would draw them like that. It will be a test of the counter trend. So somewhere in this area here, and it's also retesting this previous level that it did broke. Now remember guys that this is an inverse head and shoulders that did in fact break. So, and you can see all this level here. So sorry that the chart's a bit messy at the moment, but you know, this inverse head and shoulders here, we did in fact break the neckline, and now we're coming back down to test. We have all this market structure here. Okay, so you know, a lot of confluences go long, guys. You know, I'm pretty confident that this will be a long. In terms of entry, I'll go right between these two. Actually, I'll go into the 1 hour and see if there's a previous leg that I can do a... there's not really a previous leg. I mean, if you really wanted to clutch at straws, you could consider this a previous leg, and then -27 be right in the middle, but you know, I'm not going to do that. It's completely up to you. So I go to the 4 hour, chuck it to a line chart, see if I can see any closes that, and I've got one here. I'm not going to put that on, but if we go somewhere like that, we can see, you know, support, more or less support here, and then we have a break and a retest of support here. So if I went on to that, I'll change this to orange and do this, and then we can get rid of that, all that blue. And just for shits and giggles, I just want to have a look and see if that orange line is roughly where the -27 is. And it's pretty much right on. So I'll be looking to take my entry from there, guys. So 165,356 is where I'll be looking to take it. Now, obviously, go to the daily, have a look, you know, clean up some of this stuff. I'm really sorry that it's, you know, really messy. And, you know, look to chase it to the -27, which is here. And, you know, that's one of your first targets. If not, depending on, you know, sort of how, you know, how you trade, if you just wanted to take it to the trend line, which is essentially the top of this, that's absolutely fine, depending on how long you want to hold the trades and you know, everything like that. But that's just an example, guys, of you know, what I've sort of marked up for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you do, you know, get any value of this, like, subscribe, leave a comment, message me on Instagram at FXTraderJosh. It's the same handle as my YouTube channel, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So, but you know, bear in mind that I am moving overseas tomorrow, so in terms of my availability, it might be a bit brief. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.